Well, hello.
Hello.
I am here with Jamie Haage, right?
That's right.
That's right, from, wow, the Grand Country thing, but you got a lot going on there. You do a ton of different stuff at Grand
A
Country.
lot of shows at Grand Country.
Yeah, we were just talking about you have rehearsals going on for a morning country. Is it a country and western or a country western?
We do both types.
Both
country
types.
and western, as they say.
Two things I've never
Yes.
really listened to. So. I have a whole channel that kind of, I wouldn't say makes fun of country western, but it's just me sitting in front of a fireplace with my tuxedo on reading lyrics from country songs.
Oh, well, some of those could be pretty interesting without the music, yeah.
My most popular is Honky Tonk Badonkadonk.
Oh, yes.
So,
That one will bring a tear to your
to something.
badonkadonk.
So what kind of music are you guys going to do in the matinee show that you're doing?
Well, that's the Down Home Country show is in the morning. It'll be the morning show, and it's traditional country music, just the old stuff, Conway Twitty and Ray Price. We do a Ray Price tribute because he just passed away a couple of years ago. So there's a whole medley of Ray Price songs in there, and there's some bluegrass songs and gospel, a little gospel too. And the comedy's Harley Worthit does the comedy. I don't know if you've got to meet Perry yet. But
I haven't.
He's quite a...
But he has quite a fan base.
He certainly does, yeah. And he works a lot. He's been in every show, I think.
Yeah, he was in Pierce Arrow or something last
Yeah,
year.
he's been all around. But he does the comedy for that show, and it's the old traditional.
And you do the music.
And I play pedal steel guitar and fiddle in that show.
Wow.
So
Fiddle. You don't see that in Branson very much.
there's not. No, I would think I was the first.
Really? Were you?
No.
Let me guess. Do you play Orange Blossom Special?
We do actually.
What?
Yes.
In
yes.
Branson?
In that show, we do that in multiple shows actually.
Really?
It's funny because sometimes we get tired of things like that, but and you think surely people don't. They're tired of it too, but as soon as you pull it out, what happened to Orange Blossom Special?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah,
Put it
because
back
there's
in.
bits that I've done before for years, and I'm like, okay, it's time to change it, and I take it out, and the same thing. People are
Right.
like, why did you take it out? That's why we came and saw you.
Exactly.
Like that. But we get used to it because you get jaded in a way with the number of shows that we do.
Right.
In that I feel like I have to change jokes and stuff constantly, and then my producer at the show will remind me, well, these people have never seen
Exactly,
you, so
yeah.
they don't know. So you have to keep that in mind. But you do your show. Is it 6 nights a week?
Yeah, the Grand Jubilee show is 6 nights a week, and that's 50 weeks a year. So we get a week off in August and a week in January. So we get a lot, and we have a season pass system. So we get a lot of our season pass holders are a
that
wild
explains.
bunch. We call them. So
yeah.
we've got a little base of those folks that are always there.
Velma? Is that Velma or what's her name?
Velva is
Velva.
like the queen of the wild bunch. So.
Yeah, I know because I was on your show that you have. It's country or
Branson Country USA.
Yes, and I did that, and after that, they really liked it because they started emailing me. They're fun.
Yeah.
They've come to the show. Some of them have come to the show, and they are a wild bunch.
Well, Friday nights, we tape that show after the Grand Jubilee every Friday night. And so it's sort of a ritual for about 50 of them. They come to the 7:30 Grand Jubilee show, and then they stay for the taping of the Branson Country USA. So they've got their front seats reserved like for the rest of the year.
Was?
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense then, because that's who I talked to in the show, and I wondered how they knew so much. And,
Yep.
Oh, that makes sense. So they come every single week. And,
Every week, yeah.
Wow, I don't even watch my show that much.
I don't either.
No, I see people in the audience, and they say, "Well, I've seen it 4 times this year." I said, "That's more than I have,"
Exactly.
because we don't get to watch it. Like you, occasionally, I'll be able to sneak to the back of the audience and watch the other performers for like 10 minutes, and I'm like, "Wow, they're pretty good."
I should say something to them.
Yeah, I should write a letter.
I'll be nicer
I
to them
should be on
from now.
TripAdvisor. So, how long have you been in Branson?
All my life, almost, not
Really?
yet.
You
Yeah,
were born here?
Born close to here, around Rolla, Missouri, and then family moved here when I was about 9. So I've grown up here and went to school here. And
Why did they
everything.
move here?
My dad's job at the time, there was an opening down here. Actually, in Forsyth is where he got his job. So I grew up in Kirbyville.
Kirbyville.
Hooray for Kirby! You know where Kirbyville is?
I do not, but it's named after Kirby. No,
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Because he wasn't here back then.
Really?
It's amazing.
Could have been.
You just think he's always been. It's like trees.
Not according to the billboards.
That's right.
Uh,
No, that's about 7. It's between here and Forsyth, out
Yeah?
on East 76. So that's where I grew up.
So, what did your dad do that he moved here?
He was a sewing machine mechanic.
Wow.
There you go. And back then there were a couple of factories around this area that made pants and and different apparel for different companies. And,
Oh, I see.
And so he was the maintenance guy because there was hundreds of machines in those factories. And so he was the guy.
Now you would have, if that was modern, if
Yeah.
that was now, you would be living in Taiwan. Because
Probably.
I would be in
the Taiwan USA show every evening.
Taiwan USA.
Taiwan on. Maybe, I don't know.
You know, our show last year was called Made in the USA, and we were advertising that we were changing it. And so, as serious as I could be when people would say, "What are you changing the show to?" I would say, "Well, next year it's going to be made in Taiwan, and it's going to be all of the best Taiwanese music." And so many times people would be like, "Oh, I'm not familiar with," but they thought I was being serious.
Yeah.
Do you get that? Because you do a lot of sarcasm.
I can get too sarcastic at times.
Do you have it though that people don't get that you're being sarcastic?
Absolutely, yeah. Most of the time they do, but there are times they don't. And,
Yeah.
It's it gets lonely for a few minutes.
It does. I feel bad sometimes because I'll do a joke or I'll respond to somebody will tell me a joke and I say, that is brilliant. Mm-hmm. That's going in the show. And it'll be the most inappropriate joke. Mm-hmm. And I'm just kidding about it going in the show. And then after the show they come out and say, you didn't say my joke about the priest. And I'm like, no, I didn't. Did you really think?
I get that too, yeah. Hey, I got a joke
here.
Let's
share a joke with us.
It is so dirty and so bad. It's like, there's no way I can.
Isn't it surprising? Especially around here. I get compliments all the time. Hey, you do clean comedy. Mm-hmm. But then they say, well, I have a joke for you. And it'll be the complete opposite.
No.
And I had somebody one time that was so upset about me not telling a joke on stage. Yeah. And I said, well, first of all, there were like 4 words in that I don't even say. Mm-mm. I know. But it is interesting doing comedy around here. Mm-hmm. And comedy is so subjective. And you know how it is, and I'm sure they know how it is, but there's always someone that's offended. Especially it seems like the last few years. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it can be something that is completely innocent.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I do some jokes about Walmart or something. Mm-hmm. Well, I had somebody very upset about that. Well, we're a big supporter of Walmart. Well, I'm not.
Or we work at Walmart.
And my thing is, my jokes are about the people that go to Walmart.
Right.
So I keep it very general. But have you had anything?
We do. We try. You try not to. You run it through your head and think, no, would someone?
Yeah.
And you try to weigh the risks, but we just always try to explain to people, something or someone's got to be the butt of the joke. I mean, it's not. That's
the purpose
of
comedy.
There.
That's what comedy is.
Not meaning to offend anyone, but and sometimes they go, oh, okay, and sometimes they don't, but
they don't get it sometimes. I do a little speech at the end where I say, thank you for all having a good sense of humor. You know how it is with comedy; people get offended, and I try to, make it like if you go and complain, you're going to look like a fool.
That's right.
So that's pretty much what I do.
Well, and it's like Don Rickles. I'm a big fan of Don Rickles, and I watched an interview with him one time, and he explained that especially for him when he first started out, it was very difficult to get laughs, and because nobody knew who Don Rickles was, so they didn't know what to expect, and so he's doing his thing, and people are like wanting to fight, and and he said after you get established, he said it's easy then, because they come to see Don Rickles, they know exactly what they're going to get, and they're ready to laugh at it.
So no one knew him at first; he wasn't popular, unlike us.
Right,
Born into
popular, yes.
Come out with a whoopee cushion. So, I think that's what it was. That placenta, whichever. You had a fiddle. That must have been terrible for your mother.
Mom screamed, yes.
Yeah, well, come out doing Orange Blossom Special.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's bad.
I see you train to come. Right as you come out. It's awful. I do a joke in the show where I say I knew I was going to be a magician at first because my mom, when I was born, was in labor with me, and I popped out of the lady in the next room. So... Ta-da!
I love that. I wish I was a magician. I'd use it.
No, you don't. It's a lonely, lonely life. It is. Well, that brings me to another thing. Because you do comedy, and I get the same thing with magic. Everyone wants you to be on all the time. Like, do you get that?
They do. They do. Especially if, like, you go to Walmart, or you just need some soap or a toothbrush and some. Hey,
what are you saying? Yeah. Soap and toothbrush? Are you inferring?
No,
okay.
No. I'll talk to you that after we go off the air.
But people want you to be funny, and they say to you, like with me, they'll say, "What's wrong? Are you in a bad mood?" Like, you're different off stage. You're incredibly mean. You kicked my dog on the way in.
Well, yeah, I got to get the
Which is
hostility out.
weird because the dog was outside, but
Right.
you went all the way outside.
Pulled it out of the doghouse. And
Yeah,
kicked him in.
but no, but some people are different off stage. You do characters on stage, yeah?
Yeah, mostly because I've never done stand up, so all the
Oh.
comedy I've ever done has been with a straight man or with a ensemble, that sort of thing. So honestly, I've always wanted to do stand up, but for me it's kind of intimidating.
It's
like
scary.
what you do, I really admire because I'm like,
Oh.
"Ooh, I don't know if I'd have
thanks,
the guts to try that." But
You see, I wasn't smart enough to know. I'll tell you what happened. I got booked at a comedy club to do my a magic act, and I had my props stolen
oh gosh,
that day, and so I just had to do just the comedy. And so I'm
Forces
like,
you.
hey,
Yeah.
there you go. It's not so. But doing characters are kind of nice because you get to hide. See, I don't
you
do
can
characters.
you can hide. There's a certain thing. Yeah, it's there's some safety there.
Yeah,
sometimes.
like you can branch out and be as crazy as you want. Although, when we're on stage, that is a character.
It is. Yeah, even if you're being yourself,
Yeah.
it's still not quite yourself.
Because my wife would have killed me by now if I was that person. So you come here with Dad, and he's with the family and sewing machine business. How old were you around that at that time? Do you
I
remember?
was 9 when we moved here.
9. So you started working like a year later, according to the rules in Branson.
Just almost. I was 16, when
Yeah.
I got my first job, but
Really? And what did you do at 16?
fiddle player. Yeah.
In what show? Do you remember?
The Collins Family
Really?
gospel music show.
Tom led that? Was it Tom?
Not quite. Yeah, not quite. It was a family from Oklahoma, and they had a little gospel show. And back in those days, the season was 6 months. It was from around Memorial Day to around 1st of April, probably somewhere April to around Halloween.
Yeah.
Those 6 months. That was the season for the entire area. Now the music shows at that time, then for the other 6 months, everybody had a bus, and they booked these road shows all around the Midwest, all the states that.
Did you get to do
came
that?
to Branson. Yep, we all had to do that, and it actually, as you look back, you think that's what kept everything growing steadily
Because they build a
years and years.
following.
Because we were marketing.
Right.
All of us were out marketing to our Midwest market for 6 months. We were going to their hometowns.
Yeah, there you go.
Just fill 1,000-seat auditoriums everywhere you went. It was really. I didn't like the road, but it was
Yeah.
fun to do that.
For a while.
For a while, yeah. Then you got to come back home. But that show, the Collins Family show, they didn't do that. They just went back to Oklahoma for 6 months. And I was still in high school, so that's the only job Mom would let me have
Yeah.
because I couldn't travel. So I had to wait till I got out of high school to get on a bigger show. And
Oh, yeah? And then you moved to what?
the Wilkinson Brothers.
Wow. There's a lot of families involved.
There were a
with
lot
this
of families
situation.
then, yeah. Almost every show was a family show then. And so they toured, and we got to do that. And then I moved to the Plummer Family show, which was one of the founding shows.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of that. Yeah.
I was there for a while, and then ended up at Silver Dollar City, and I was there for 16 years.
Yeah, you said you 16 years. Wow. Echo Hollow?
Partly, yeah. Mostly for that. The first, I was always hired. The comedy came later, actually. I was always hired as a musician, mostly for the fiddle playing, and that's what I was hired for at Silver Dollar City initially, in Echo Hollow. And then
That's a difficult place to work. I did that my first year, and
Really?
I did not like it.
Really?
No, because with comedy, people were so spread out. And
Right.
It's very large there.
It's very large, yeah. And there's an atmosphere outside that I liked and that I miss. It's a little different.
As opposed to going home and Mom and Dad putting you in the basement. And,
Right.
go
Yeah, 'cause-
work the next day. And yeah,
I don't want to talk.
down there with the sewing.
Right. Making the little shoes.
Making the costumes. Yeah.
Yeah. But so comedy came a little bit later.
And why did you start doing comedy? You're playing. That's quite a jump from playing the fiddle to doing well. Sort
It
of.
is. Well, I was always the comedian backstage and the comedian on the bus. I was the comedian for our group all the time. I was constantly,
Yeah.
making them laugh. And so, actually, it was at the Plummer Family show one winter. The comedian they had, something happened, and Daryl Plummer, the owner of the show, he's like, "Do you think you could do what you're doing on the bus here on stage?" I was like, "I don't know."
So you go out the first day, and you have to make people laugh.
I was shaking.
Yeah.
I was shaking. So I sat down, and tried to come up. Okay, what's some jokes, and I should do a funny character, and so
What was your character?
I need a funny name, So Jim Dandy. That's that's where it first started. It's like, I don't know, I can't think of any funny names. They've all been taken, Herkimer, can't do that one.
Yeah,
Let's see.
Kirby, can't do that.
Can't do that. Right. There's many more that I just can't
Presley's.
say.
Yeah.
But so Jim Dandy. Everybody used to say Jim Dandy all the time, so maybe I'll try that.
Yeah.
So I tried to come up with these jokes and put them all together in a.
How did it go the first few times?
It went pretty good. It probably better than I thought because I was just shaking in my clothes, but probably didn't notice that. But
yeah,
it got easier after. Once you start getting the laughs, it's like, oh, this is kind of fun.
Yeah, then you start like riding that wave.
Right.
As long as you get the laughs.
Right. Mm-hmm. Then you get cocky and you go out on a limb and nobody laughs and you go, oh.
So what was? I was going to ask you this later, but what was the worst time you ever had? Have you ever had just an impossible audience? For example, my worst introduction ever was I used to do church events. They would have, fundraisers and stuff, and they would have me come in and do a thing. And I was very excited about this huge church in our area. And so I'm actually behind the pulpit waiting to spring out, and I'm dressed. Yeah, and I have all this stuff on me. And the pastor wants to do a little intro. And so he does. Nicest guy, but he decides that would be the best time to talk about the church secretary's cancer coming back and how they're starting they're going to have a fundraiser in 2 weeks for her, and they wish her the best. And would you please rise? And everybody comes up and gives her a hug and all this. and they're crying. And then he goes, so now let's just all have some laughs tonight. Come on out here. And I come out and I'm like, hey. So that was kind of a bad one. But it was one of my best shows.
Was it?
Yeah, because the people
to
wanted to laugh then. So
That's awful.
It was terrible because I'm underneath the thing thinking, what is he doing? Like this is going to be a punchline, but there's not a lot funny in this intro. So your worst time.
Well, I have something sort of like that. It was at Silver Dollar City, and it was during the Gospel Music Festival. They still have that every year. And it's huge. It draws massive crowds. And so they booked these big national gospel acts in Echo Hollow. And back then, I would not really host the show. They had another guy, a big gospel dude, that would host it, but I would kind of co-host because they'd have to change bands out and change some of the mic stands and different equipment for the groups as they would come and go. Because at Echo Hollow, you don't have
transition.
You don't have a curtain, so So I would come out and as Jim Dandy and tell jokes and do shtick with the gospel guy to kill time for all this, and I'd go out and welcome everyone, initially. So one year they decided to, in case of rain and inclement weather, they would move all of that to the Red Gold Heritage Hall, which was new at that time. So Echo Hollow holds 4,000 people, and that holds about 1,500 people.
Right.
So they were going to move it up there. Seems like a good idea on the face of it, but
other than the math part.
But not, yeah. So they would give out tickets then to the first 1,500, and that's who got in to see the big acts that night if the weather was bad. So it happened. It actually happened that year. Weather bad. They made the decision, move it up there. And they pass out the first 1,500 tickets, and there's still thousands of people that came to see the Martins or these big groups.
Yeah, they come from all over to see this.
Yeah, and they're not going to get to see it. So the tempers flare.
You don't want to upset the gospel people.
And I can't even repeat some of the things. But it's like, and you're a gospel fan, and you just said that to me. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, I go out to start the big show, and I'm in that crazy orange suit. It's obvious I'm not there to preach or anything.
Yeah,
so
you would think.
So I'm like, howdy everybody, give the big Silver Dollar City howdy, and how's everybody doing tonight? And you usually get a woo, it was woo, but it was a different woo. And a few people were standing up and they start shouting like at a union meeting or something.
And I'm like town hall meeting.
I'm just screaming out, we had the way, just all kinds of stuff. And I didn't even know what, but it was like 5 people standing up and then the rest of the crowd chanting with them.
Oh no.
And I'm like, I don't know what to do about this. I can't even address this problem.
Yeah, what do you do?
So I just introduced the host. I said, "How about a big hand?"
And you're just
take it
out of there.
I'm going to go back here.
Occasionally working on the boat, we get that kind of thing because if the weather's bad, we don't take the boat out for safety, and people take it out on me. Like they'll be very angry, and because we are kind of the front man,
right?
You know, the person, the thread throughout the show, they feel like you're the one that that needs to.
You're the guy.
But they knew you were part of the show. And
it was scary. That's the only time that I couldn't really handle it. I didn't know. I had no idea
were
what
punches
to do.
thrown?
Yeah. Oh, I don't. Maybe out there. There probably was out in the line trying to get in, but I was afraid I was going to get. They're going to throw a chair or a shoe.
Oh yeah, you never know. They're very violent.
Those gospel folks are serious.
Yeah, passionate. That's the word. No, well, we do the gospel cruises as well, but there's some interesting times. Well, Branson is a challenge to do.
It is
comedy, I think, especially with music. I always joke with our musicians; they can go. Like music is a universal thing. Like,
exactly.
You know, once it starts with comedy, if you feel like you're losing that audience, you suddenly feel like you're treading water, and and that's that.
Well, somebody plays or sings and does a song, and even if they grind, boy, that's not very good. At the end, they still clap.
Yeah, they feel obligated.
That's what you do, but you don't just laugh because it's polite.
Yeah, right.
You just go, that wasn't very funny. I didn't like that.
What do you mean by that? So comedy in Branson is very different. Now, I came from New York. I was working in New York, and my friends, when I said I was moving to Branson, they said 1 week. We give you 1 week with your comedy.
Yeah.
Because I do stand-up type stuff, and I had never gone to shows around. Well, I take it back. I went to a show downtown my first week, and I don't want to say the name. We don't, but it rhymes with Nald Bobbers.
Okay.
I got it.
Yeah,
it was the Presleys.
Okay.
But I went, and it was a good show. But I saw how the comedy was with characters and stuff, and I thought, oh no. Like, I don't do that.
Yeah.
And so I thought I was doomed. But have you done comedy anywhere else?
No,
other than Branson?
I've just grown
so you don't
up here
have
and
that
I've stayed
experience.
Here,
Yes. So you don't have that to compare us. The difference.
Not personally,
between,
no. I have a lot of influences just watching Carol Burnett, Tim Conway, all those people, and Mel Brooks, and I mean, I wouldn't say studied them, but big fans, and so that sort of influences a lot of what I do, and sometimes that doesn't work as well.
Right.
But makes me laugh. But I do get a lot, especially if I can. Tim Conway, you get in some of those guys. The audiences here know, and I get people will mention that once in a while. They'll go,
Tim Conway.
Did you ever watch Tim Conway when you grew up? I was like, yeah, all the time.
A little bit.
Because they said, well, you kind of reminded me of Tim Conway in a couple of spots because I do an old man character.
Oh, you do?
From time to time, and that's all I can do. It just comes out Tim Conway. So
yeah. Well, he was in town a few years ago. Did you
go
go
see him?
Me
him
too.
And Harvey Korman and together, and it was a thrill. It was a thrill. Yeah.
It's amazing watching him work because he did the dentist thing and all that. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
See, I love that old style of comedy too, and I love watching like Bob Newhart and all Don Rickles. Every
Don
time
Rickles.
He's in Vegas, I go see him. And stuff.
I would love if I had a chance to do stand up and do that. I would love to be Don Rickles.
You would?
I
and
would.
just kind of pick on people and stuff?
I think I could.
Yeah.
I couldn't hear.
Yeah.
I'd be beaten up.
But you know what's funny is we had this discussion with Cassandra Haage in our show, and people kept coming out saying, oh, you like to pick on the audience. To me, not to her.
Right.
And I say, that's hilarious because anywhere else I work and I do my Branson show, they're like, well, that's really tame, Right. And so it shocks me, that level of the audience. I think they believe just because you're speaking with them. Because Branson is very different.
It is.
My thing that I noticed, I went to that show the first week. Then I didn't go to any shows for a year because we just got busy. And then I went a year or two later and noticed that the difference to me was in Branson, the audience is right there. Like they feel like they can talk with you.
Exactly.
And they want like intimate. Your fan group, the crazies.
The Wild Bunch.
The Wild Bunch. but they feel like there's no wall there. And that was the biggest difference for me. When
exactly.
Coming from comedy clubs, you did not want to engage with the audience too much because they were drinking quite heavily.
You would literally end up engaging.
And those are just the church shows. No, but here they wanted you. And so I went and saw Paul. I went and saw a lot of the different shows in town and realized, wow, they really address the audience and get them involved. And so that changed everything.
Exactly.
But you guys, your following is just crazy to me because I can't believe.
We do so many shows, I guess, and so a lot of the folks come to all the shows because we've got like 9 shows. And
you have a season pass
after a year, so
that makes sense.
But yeah, it's different, and I've gotten the privilege of becoming friends with national touring folks like you and others, so I get an insight into that. I've heard what you're saying, and I know it to be true.
Yeah,
there was a comedian that I'd watched on television. I just thought he was really great. I won't mention his name, but and he came here for just a little while, and I was so excited because I really loved it. He was just so funny to me, and he just bombed here.
Yeah,
and then
was this just a few years ago?
It wasn't too long ago.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm like, I understood it. It's like
his style is much more abrasive.
Yeah, but it was so funny, and just some of it's just brilliant. It's not even like anything else anybody's doing, but it's like,
that brings me to a point about comedy in this town. One thing that really surprised me, your show is really unique. However, there are a lot of people that come into town, especially comedians, I think, maybe it's just my view, that just imitate other comedians or take someone else's act and they do a tribute act. That bothers me a lot because people don't realize how much work it is.
It is a lot of work, yeah.
It is a lot of work because you have to fine-tune it and you constantly have to think about it.
Right.
And to see someone take a bit that you come up with or a character and just do it somewhere else. And I'm surprised here that happens as often as it does.
It does happen more than it should, definitely. And because we're a small town, it's like you're 2 doors down. I'm going to know you're doing this.
That's what I say. I say it's not like you're in Vegas or Atlantic City doing a joke that I did.
Go to the moon. And
you were at my show 3 days ago.
And now you're doing
it.
That's happened, yeah.
That happens a lot. And when I first came, I went and saw a few shows after a year or so. And I went and I remember the people in the show coming up to me saying, "Are you here to get new material?" And I didn't understand that because I had come from a background of being Vegas, New York, and going to see other shows just to see shows.
Right.
But here they were real skeptical. And after a while, I realized why. Because you have to be really, really careful with that. You have to be very careful. But you're in a variety show like I am. So
variety show.
That kind of takes a little bit of the pressure off.
It does, yeah. Our show is, we're trying to get the best balance we can between the old style Branson show, and there is a Branson style show that kind of made the town famous, and a little newer, a little more flashy, and so we're riding that line. I think we're doing pretty good.
I think so too.
Job with it, but
I think so too, because our audiences are changing a lot. I've been here 10 years, and they've changed incredibly. But throughout the year, springtime we get a lot of younger people. Summer we get a lot of families, and then it changes September 1st.
Exactly.
Then it's buses.
That's like our Down Home Country show only runs in the spring and the fall because the younger demographic in the summer they will not see it. They just won't buy a ticket for it. So
no, oh well, maybe they'll start. You never know. But it's just different taste, and it's good that you guys evolve. So many people just want to stick with that same formula. Yeah, and I think it's a huge mistake.
Yeah, you need to try to find what the fish are biting today.
Yeah. So have you thought about? Well, you don't get an off season, really.
We don't.
You get like a week.
Yeah.
So it's different than other people I talk to that get several months off. So I was going to say, do you ever think of going out and trying to do ships or?
I would like to do that.
Yeah.
At some point, maybe when I'm old, but they can wheel me on.
So beyond like 3 years from now.
Oh God. Is the lighting that bad in here?
It's the lighting.
No, I would. I've thought of it, but I'm so comfortable here, and it's just odd, I guess, because it's my hometown, and
it's what you do.
I've been successful, and I've been very blessed. I've worked for 33 years. I've had a job doing this for 33 years, which is probably extraordinary.
That is.
In your hometown.
Right. So, and you get to go home every night, and that's what everybody always says. Well, I get to go home, not being on the road, not staying in hotels. And I was constantly in La Quinta hotels. Did you know Spanish for behind Denny's?
Is it?
I
didn't know that.
Yeah, I did know. Did not know that.
For across from Applebee's.
Yeah, exactly. But no, you know, it's nice to break it up and get to travel a little bit. But to be, and you probably have a lot of freedom in your show. Do you have a lot of input as to what goes in the show?
We do.
Or do they just come to you and tell you what to do?
Mike's the producer, Mike Patrick, and
he's great.
But we all. It's a group effort.
It's a group effort.
Yeah, he guides it all, and he's got a pretty good vision of what he wants, and so everybody will throw out. And then we all working with him so long, we know kind of what he wants too.
Right.
And for this spot, it's like, well, what about this song? And he'll go, yeah, I like that song, or no, I've never liked that song.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Taylor Swift.
Exactly. Slim Whitman medley, I don't think so, not this year. But
Eminem, yeah, we can do that.
But Mike's the straight man for me in the comedy, so we work pretty tightly on that. And honestly, we try to just script out something. When we're doing a new bit, okay, let's do this joke here, and then that'll lead us to this joke, because he's done comedy too in the past on his own, so we both have a little different take on. Right. We both have a little library of jokes in our head that are a little different.
You're like, so I saw this one on the Showboat last week.
Right.
So let's do it
this way. Hey, Christopher's doing this one, and he messed it up. I think if we change this, we can make it work. Where he couldn't. No. But then, so we start with something, and it's amazing how, like you say, the audiences here are different. That what you wrote down is like, well, that's not working. But then you ad-lib something in the middle of that bit, and then all of a sudden, about 5 days into it, you've ad-libbed a whole new routine that works.
Yeah.
And the stuff you wrote down is threw in the trash. So.
Yeah. And you get people up on stage, right?
We do.
And some of my best lines have come from those people on stage.
You can hardly ever go wrong with getting people on the stage.
Well.
You can, but chances are there's comedy gold in there if you just dig a little bit.
Yeah, if they're really quiet and shy, it's funny. If they're outrageous, most of the time it's funny.
Yeah.
But is there a type of audience member that you, do you pick them? Yourself or
yes.
Somebody else? Is there somebody that you just avoid, like a persona? Because I have a couple that just scare me.
I try to. Luckily, the bit this year where I get a lady up out of the audience is about 20 minutes into the show, so I have a chance to kind of, as I'm doing the other routines and stuff, kind of scan and see, because I don't have much time, so I usually have to pick someone on the front row or
so it's always Wild
pretty
Bunch.
Close. Yeah. Well, Friday nights I have to go to the balcony, and we don't even have a balcony,
which is strange.
Yeah,
drive into the next theater.
I go to Presley's and get one of their audience members, but you can kind of tell, especially if you've done it a long time. Now, Silver Dollar City trained me for this very well, because in all the shows out there, you're constantly, dealing with people, dragging them up on stage. So you develop a skill. It's like, okay, no, they're not going to.
You're right.
You can just kind of watch their reactions to stuff and tell.
Yeah.
You can sum them up pretty quick.
Yeah, I try to avoid people that are too enthusiastic, because to me, they have an agenda. They want to get up there, and they want to be funny and stuff. And there's been a few times where I mute my mic and lean over and say, let me make you funny. I'll help you. Let me do this, because maybe it's inappropriate. Some of the stuff that they say, and they don't realize it's inappropriate sometimes.
Right.
But
I just lean. I can't tell you what I whisper in their ear when that happens.
You can't.
But they usually walk off the stage.
Crying.
Yes.
Crying. No, but I do it in a nice way. I say, just go along for the ride. It'll work. Trust me. I do this. So, because sometimes the humor is a little out there. Like they just want to be goofy or something like that. So I avoid people that are over enthusiastic, people that I have a restraining order against me. So that eliminates about a third.
Sometimes if they're in leg irons, I don't pick them.
Sometimes.
I pick them. Yeah.
Sometimes. And sometimes people that are just out of it, you can tell, that they're out of it, and they don't know what's going on around them, and they've lost their big illusion show. And so they don't, you shouldn't get them up on stage.
I wouldn't know who that is.
It's a running gag. No, but if you get the right audience member, they make the show, and then they write, they help you write jokes and stuff. Yeah. Or I've had people come up and say, "Oh, I thought you were going to say this line," and that, and then that goes in the show. So after a while,
and they're all doing, and it's some of the funniest things that I've ever been involved with on stage have been with audience members.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I was in the Comedy Jamboree the first 4 years of that show at Grand Country, and I did a bit where I got three men, because I would hit them on the head and stuff, so you don't want to be hitting women on the head. Not around here.
No.
But so the first, actually probably 2/3 of the bit was just talking to them.
Yeah.
One at a time, where are you from, all the
yeah,
stuff,
that becomes funny.
And there's at least one joke in all of that, and sometimes many more. But so I get down to the last guy, and then if they had a little hat on, like the ball caps or whatever, with a little button in the top, I'd have them take their hats off, because I was using like Nerf mallets, but sometimes that little button could hurt. I had a couple people complain because it hit their head, so I was like, take your hat off, because that could hurt. And I talked to him. That's what it was. I'm forgetting my own story here.
Is it your story, or did you hear this at another show? But anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, at that other show that rhymes with
Nold Balbers.
Yes, that was no. He'd said something about his teeth, just gotten his new teeth, or we made some stick about his teeth or whatever. I don't even remember what it was now, but we got quite a few laughs about that. And then we got down to actually doing the little song and me beating him on the heads. And I said, you can hold your hat. I said, you can put your teeth in your hat if you need to. And he just like on cue spit his teeth into his hat. And the show was over at that point.
Yeah.
I had to stop and go eat a sandwich while the people laughed, because they laughed.
Because you just wanted to show off that you had teeth.
Yeah. But it was like, you did it, buddy. You put the icing on this cake.
That's what some of the funniest things that they say, and people come out and say, "Oh, you were hilarious," and I'm thinking, "Thank you very much. I didn't do anything."
Yeah.
I always do the same thing. What do you do for a living? And I had a guy, because I always say, "What do you do for a living? What's the worst thing about your job?" Like things like that. And when guy said he worked for farms and did artificial insemination. Oh. And I said, what is the worst part of your job? My wife complains that I bring my work home with me.
He was ready for that one, wasn't he?
No, it took him a minute, and I lost it. I just totally lost it.
That's great.
I didn't even know what to do, so it was pretty good.
That doesn't happen often enough, but it does happen.
No, but with your experience, 33 years, like we know how to guide them,
right,
to get down that path.
And sometimes there's nothing there. Have you ever?
Oh yeah,
you
but then it's
driving?
Funny to me.
Yeah,
like it's funny. It's funnier to me. Like, as long as two people think something's funny, then it stays in the show. That's what I say, because it'll be funny when I go down this long thing. And they, especially with magic, I'll do this elaborate setup, and then we get down to it, and it just, they don't do what they're supposed to. And I'm like, ta-da!
And I'm thinking in my mind, okay, I'll go down this road, and then I'm going to go back home, because I can't find their house. I don't know where they're at.
There's nothing here. Well, I want to thank you for coming on and talking about getting to Branson, and about your show, and all that. Go see them at the Grand Country Show. Is at what theater?
Grand Country Music Hall.
Oh, there you go. And but go see the show, and there's a website, and there's
grandcountry.com.
And there's the TV show, and there's the radio show, and I had no idea it was that big of a deal.
Yeah, we keep busy with a lot of things. And
the radio show's popular.
Yes, it is. With Branson Country USA, we're adding TV stations now.
Yeah?
So that's getting pretty exciting.
I had a great time on that, but it was very scary for me.
Really?
I was petrified.
Oh,
I don't know if you could tell.
You were great. No, you were great.
Well, thanks. Because I tried to do it all last year. I don't think I told you that. I tried to do it all last year, and with my schedule, we get done 11 o'clock. There was no way. And so Mike invited me on for this year. And so I was on a cruise ship, and we agreed on a date. And then a few weeks before, Chris... got a hold of it. Produces the show, I guess. But he got in touch with me and said, when do you want to do a rehearsal with the band? And I said, the band? What am I going to do with the band? Don't you do music? And I'm like, no. Well, it's a radio. It's a radio show or whatever. I'm like, I thought it was an interview. Like, I thought I was going on this and do an interview. Oh, okay. All right. I said, talk to Chris. I thought this was or talk to Mike.
Yeah.
And so then I got to the theater, and he said, what is your last bit that you're going to do? And I said, bit? I'm doing bits? I thought this was an interview.
Just a misunderstanding.
Yeah. And so he's like, I'm sure it'll be fine, whatever. And so I was on the phone literally as you guys were getting ready for me, telling my wife, I have no idea what I'm going to do.
Oh, no.
Like, I didn't bring anything.
You seem so calm and collected.
She's like, just go out and do what you do when you lose your props. So I went out and talked with your Wild Bunch. And
you were great.
Just improv'd it. Like for 8 minutes, and I was scared to death.
They loved you, yeah.
I came off and I told my wife, I said, I think it was okay.
Oh yeah, no, it was very okay.
But it's a great show. It's fun. You guys make everybody comfortable to be. Everyone was so nice backstage and stuff with the drinks and the back rubs.
Oh yeah,
and, all
the candles and
the candles.
That
and
air supply CD.
Bubble bath was a little much, but but everyone was so nice at the show, and all your guests were so nice, or all your audience members were so nice, and they have been incredibly nice, and you have a great following, and you must have a really high quality show because they really love you guys.
Well, we try.
You do. So go to grandcountry.com. Right? Is that right?
That's right.
And see the show, get tickets, buy a season pass. How about that?
You could be a part of the Wild Bunch. It can happen to you.